there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in this video we're going to be continuing the ever-evolving conversation around Rachel Zegler and the path that her career seems to have taken, which is really not looking good. Based on all the backlash from the Disney Snow White trailers, obviously she's playing Snow White in the Disney live-action remake. She's on social media opening her mouth, making bad political comments, which is further added to the backlash. And now she's just released a recent movie called Y2K, and it looks like this movie is going to be bombing at the box office as well. So her career is really not looking good at the moment. We're going to dive into this article, break it all down, and see what's going on with Rachel Zegler. And yeah, she's pretty much the most despised, hated actress in Hollywood at the moment, based on the comments that she made about the original Snow White, about, like I said, the kind of political, social comments she's been making, and it's just not looking good for her whatsoever. But anyway, so we're going to read this from Cosmic Book News. Rachel Zegler's Y2K bombs at the box office following Snow White backlash. Yeah, the Snow White backlash is not going to help her career by any means. People are going to be talking about it for a very long time, especially if the movie comes out and bombs at the box office, the Snow White movie. Her career is just going to go like down in the toilet. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a look at her Y2K movie, which has just come out. We're going to go over to Rotten Tomatoes, have a look at the critic score, the audience score, and read a small synopsis so we know what the movie is about. So, the synopsis here: on the night of 1999, two high school juniors crash a New Year's Eve party, only to find themselves fighting for their lives in a dial-up disaster comedy. So, everybody remembers back to 1999, there was that Y2K thing where they thought, as soon as the clock ticks over to the year 2000, that there was going to be a gigantic, like, malware virus thing that was going to take over all the computers in the world. They were all going to become infected, and it was known as the Y2K, sort of like conspiracy thing. Obviously, it never happened, but they're basing this movie on that kind of, you know, that kind of conspiracy thing that was meant to happen with all the computers back in 1999, 2000. And they've tried to make a comedy movie about it, and it doesn't seem to have landed with anybody. So the critic score here is 44% from 70 reviews, and the audience score is 51% from 100 plus verified ratings. Remember, verified ratings, that means that people actually saw this movie. They had a ticket, they have proof of purchase, they're verified to have actually seen the movie, rather than just random people who went online and posted reviews and they haven't seen the movie. We know that these people actually are verified to have seen the movie. So 44% from critics, 51% from audience. So it's not looking good for this movie whatsoever. Let's go back over and dive into this information and also see what's going on with Rachel Zegler. So, Rachel Zegler's latest film, Y2K, is crashing and burning at the box office, looking to open to a lackluster 2.1 million, hopefully, and earning a dismal C cinema score, which is horrible. So, really low critic score, really low audience score, 2.1 million, really bad box office, and a C- cinema score. So, across the board, really lackluster, really mid, not good whatsoever. So, the A24 horror comedy, directed by Kyle Mooney, is far from a hit for the studio that they had likely hoped for, especially with a low budget under $15 million. At least they had a low budget for this movie. If this movie was like $100 million and it only made, you know, ridiculously small amounts, that would have been really catastrophic. But the fact that the budget was under $15 million, I guess they kind of saved themselves there. Worth a mention is the poor performance comes on the heel of Rachel Zegler's two Snow White trailers receiving massive backlash, including over 2 million dislikes on YouTube. Yeah, so across those two trailers, over 2 million dislikes for those two Snow White trailers. That's just insane. Like, can you even imagine 2 million dislikes on a movie? That just goes to show you the backlash, the hatred, everything, this massive kind of circus of controversy that surrounds Rachel Zegler. It's going to get to the point where no studio is going to want to work with Rachel Zegler, not just because of the kind of the controversy surrounding her, but because she continues to go on social media, she continues to open her mouth and make these really bad political statements. And yeah, I think at some point, the studios are going to sidestep her and say, look, we can't work with her. She causes too much controversy. She has too much baggage involved with wherever she goes. It's just not financially viable to have her in a movie. It's going to get to that point. So we'll have to see what happens in the next few years. So this is the poster for Y2K. You can see here we've got a plug and it's got spikes and it looks like the computers are taking over and trying to kill people. The plug socket is got blood on it. So yeah, it looks like computers are kind of killing people or overtaking the world or something. New Year's Eve 1999, the last party before. So yeah, Y2K. It seems weird to base a movie on this concept of Y2K because a lot of people now who are younger probably wouldn't know what Y2K is unless you lived through that time period. I did. At the time, I was quite young, but I was born before 1999, so I do remember the Y2K thing. I was quite young at the time, but I did live through that period of time. But people now who are in their, young teens, I would say like mid to older teens, so if you're like 17, 18, 19, maybe early 20s, this isn't a period of time that you live through, so people wouldn't be familiar with the Y2K crisis. And people wouldn't be, they wouldn't know what it means or what it is. So it's a very strange concept to base a movie around, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's kind of how I feel about it. So, a string of flops incoming for Zegler. Yep, so things could continue to get worse here. Zegler once seemed to be a rising star after her roles in Spielberg's West Side Story and her casting in The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, is now facing a wave of negative attention. Her portrayal of Disney's iconic Snow White has been met with big-time criticism from its departure from the original story, and for comments Zegler made during press interviews, which sparked widespread backlash online. Now, with Y2K stumbling out the gate, Zegler's career momentum appears to be on a downward spiral. Industry insiders are taking note. Y2K's weak start at 2,108 theaters highlights Zegler's inability to draw in audiences, even with minimal competition after Thanksgiving, and before the holiday blockbuster season begins, notes Deadline. Who questions if the movie will even bring in $2 million this weekend? Wow, yeah, she's not a box office draw by any means. Nobody cares. If you talk to any movie fandom circles, online, offline, wherever, and you bring up the name Rachel Zegler, like, it's just met with a kind of a sigh, or kind of like, oh, really? Like, we have to talk about her again? Like, nothing positive. I can't remember the last time I ever heard Rachel Zegler's name or a movie she was attached to and something positive being said about it. It's just negative everywhere she goes. And like I say, studios are going to sidestep her. They're not going to want to work with her because of the baggage, the circus, the controversy. Why would you have her in your movie? It's not financially viable. You wouldn't want all this bad press and attention coming with her. So I think studios are going to shy away from her. Why the backlash? The backlash against Zegler's recent projects likely stem from her public statements, which have been labelled as dismissive of beloved franchises and their fan bases. Obviously, she came out and made bad comments about the original Snow White movie and the prince, being a stalker and all this kind of crazy, weird stuff. Her criticisms of Disney's original Snow White didn't sell well with audiences, and again, the response to the trailers has been overwhelmingly negative. Now, her association with Y2K obviously isn't helping things. So yeah, bad press from the Snow White trailers and the interviews, all of that circus and controversy. Now she's bringing out Y2K. This movie's going to bomb as well because she can't sell tickets. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to see it. I bet there's a load of you guys who've never even heard of this movie, Y2K. If I wasn't in the movie fandom circles looking up news every day, I would never have heard of this movie. I didn't see any trailers anywhere. I didn't see any posters. I never saw this movie advertised. So unless I was actively searching for movie news, I wouldn't have known anything about this movie. Among her comments include the claim that she threatened President Donald Trump and his supporters, which she backtracked on, and she also said she didn't like Disney's original Snow White and called Prince Charming a stalker. Weird. She said something she also backtracked on. Yeah, so she came out and made bad comments about Trump and his supporters. She made bad comments about the original Snow White movie and calling Prince Charming a stalker and just all this political correctness stuff. Like, we go to the movies to be entertained, to have fun, to let go of reality for a time being, and just kind of embrace ourselves in the fantasy of it all. But we don't want to be we don't want to have political speeches, from celebrities and stuff like that. And it just comes off as, holier than thou and stuff like that. Like, we don't want celebrities preaching to us about what they feel about political things. Like, and the fact that she dove into that, it's just turned people off to her really badly. So, the numbers don't lie. Comparing Y2K's 2.1 million opening to other recent indie releases also paints a bleak picture. Zegler also starred in a lot bigger movies. So, Neon's Cuckoo opened to 3 million, finishing with 6.2 million. Even A24's smaller releases like Bodies, showed stronger box office legs. As Deadline notes, with holiday juggernauts like Mufasa and Sonic the Hedgehog 3 soon to dominate the screens for Christmas, Y2K won't be able to recover. Absolutely, there's no way it could compete with those two juggernauts. Update, it's learned that Y2K opened to number 9 over the weekend. Friday box office performance is abysmal. The flick only brought in $923,000 on 2,100 screens, so it didn't even bring in $1 million. They were projecting nearly 2.1 million, I think it said at the beginning of the article, and it didn't even bring in 1 million. It only brought in 923,000 from 2,100 screens, which only averages $437 a theater, On Saturday, the box office dropped 25% and brought in 692,000. On Sunday, another drop of 28% with 498,000. Current box office sits at 2.1 million. Oh, right, okay, so it has brought in 2.1 million as a global box office haul at the moment. But it was just one day there where it brought in less than 1 million. So I do apologize. That was just one day. That wasn't the entire global box office haul. So the global haul for the movie box office sits at 2.1 million. But yeah, this is really, really bad. Average of $437 a theater. Wow. So Rachel Zegler, whether this is because we can't claim that this is entirely because of the backlash from Snow White, although I'm sure that's part of the equation. But when you factor in her political comments on social media, her backlash from the Snow White trailer, the fact that people just don't like her as an actress. She seems that she's got a stick up her butt. She feels that she's more important than everybody else. She seems to just, I don't know, be very, very kind of arrogant and stuck up, and she just doesn't come across as a likable person whatsoever. I mean, from everything that I've seen watching her in interviews and stuff like this, she's just, yeah, I mean, people just don't like her, don't gel with her, they don't get on board. People don't want to go and pay their hard-earned money to sit and watch her in a movie. And this Y2K movie has kind of proved that. And we'll have to see how Snow White ultimately pans out when it comes to the box office. Big families could still go out and watch that movie and support the movie, and it could still end up being profitable. I mean, it is a Disney property, so I do expect it to make some money. But it'd be interesting to see how much it'll be interesting to see how much Snow White ultimately makes, and if her career can recover after Snow White. But guys, I throw it off to you. What do you think about this? Rachel Zegler's latest movie, Y2K, making 2.1 million, making basically no money, bad audience, bad critic score, bad box office, bad cinema score. Do you think that her career is pretty much done at this point after Snow White, or do you think that it can recover? Do you actually like Rachel Zegler? Would you go out and pay to watch her in a movie, or do you think that she's a really, really awful bad actor and you wouldn't want to go anywhere near her? Whatever your thoughts are, guys, I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. So jump down in the comment section, leave your thoughts, comments, and opinions, and I would love to hear your feedback. As always, thank you so much for watching. Hit that like and consider becoming a subscriber if you haven't already. It goes a long way to supporting the channel, guys. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video.